Oh wait, where is Bridget? She's over here somewhere. There she
Uh-huh.
is. Hey,
Uh-huh.
Josh, your cave isn't as normally as dark as it is. You know, it's kind of it's lighter today. That last meeting we
It's
had, all we
dark
had was
here.
your face on the screen.
Oh yeah, I know. Well, it'll get that way as the sun goes down. I guess I could. Is that
Turn
not
on
have
a
the red
Clay
glow
light.
is
anymore?
Yeah,
blue
that'd be
tonight.
nice.
Clay got a haircut. I like your hair, Clay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, time being 6:30, I call this meeting to order. Closed session, town council to convene into closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, Sections 551.071 and Section 551.074 to discuss matters relating to consultation with town attorney and personnel as follows. Deliberation and consideration of appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officers or employee, to wit, discussion and consider election of mayor pro tem and town administrator. B, consultation with town attorney regarding ordinance 686-20, declaring a local state of disaster due to the public health emergency. Item number C, consultation with town attorney regarding legal issues related to police operations. Time being 6:31, we are convened into closed session. Tammy?
Give me just a moment. I believe Jacqueline's joining us as well.
Oh, Jacqueline, perfect timing.
Just a moment, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Clay, right now you either look like the Queen Mother or Warren Buffett.
Who are you talking to?
I was talking to you. You kind of look either like Warren Buffett in that light in the background, or the Queen Mother.
Well,
I mean,
well,
hello, everyone.
it's strictly coincidental. Trust me.
I'm with you.
Clay, what he's saying is you look
Yeah.
regal and as if you could be part of the monarchy. So I think it was all a compliment.
Oh.
It's always a
Thank you,
compliment
Jeff.
to
Okay, great. Thank you, council. So we do have a call-in user. Call-in user is our standard practice. We will start the town council session at 7 p.m. So you've got 7 minutes before we start. And please communicate with Tammy if you would like to speak.
So we're in recess.
We are in recess until 7 o'clock. Yes, sir.
How you feeling, Clay? Oh, you're muted. Can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm doing okay. I just want to sit here and kind of go to La La Land, you know?
We're gonna go take a nap.
Yeah, but hey, I'm gonna hang in there. Everything went well though today, so that's great.
Okay, I'm gotta go admit some people to our meeting here.
How do I make myself disappear?
You want to make yourself disappear?
Yeah, how do I do that on the screen? Do I just get up and walk
You don't-
away?
Yeah, you just walk
It's
away.
like Bridget and
Yeah, you
Josh
just
and
get up and
everyone else.
they
yeah,
just got
went
up.
blank. Okay, that's good. I'll be back.
Okay.
Well, hello, Cross Timbers Water.
Hello, Patrick should be here in just a little bit, in just a minute. So, how are you guys doing today?
Doing well. How are you doing?
Good, good.
Clay asked me, how do I make myself disappear like the rest of them?
Well, you just have that little thing over your video and you just slide it like this. See, boom.
I said, just get up and walk away.
Yeah, you can always do the stop video.
Yep. I don't think I have that on this laptop. Oh, there we go.
You should have it towards the top or on a bigger screen. It may be running along the
Oh yeah,
bottom.
this one doesn't have it, but this is a lot better than walking out of going to 2 rooms.
Oh, absolutely. We love it.
Ooh, let's see.
So Ed, did you actually catch the marlin?
It's actually a wahoo. It's a wahoo. It was 5 feet long and weighed 50 pounds.
Nice.
Here, there's a little better view of it.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Now, where did you catch that?
That was off the coast of Bermuda.
Nice.
So that was back in '98. And as they say, even if we hadn't caught anything, a day on the ocean where the water is just an unbelievable blue, kind of like Clay's chair there. That's about the color blue the ocean was. That beats a day in the office anytime. So it was awesome fun. We landed 7 of those and that was the biggest.
Damn.
Oh, wow. That's great. So Ed, are you going into the office every day then?
Oh, not every day. It just depends on what's going on. The past few days I've been here, but it just depends. I'm usually trying to be at home, but our building is closed, so we're the only ones in the building except for a couple folks on the 3rd floor. And so we are pretty safe, and we only have about half our crew in the office. So it's not much risk.
Yeah, we're slowly but surely starting to open up office space starting in the middle of next month. Obviously, the factories are still running, with the exception when we shut some down, but everything's back online.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, at lower production rates.
yeah. But no, we're still pumping on all 8 cylinders. We're glad.
Nice.
There's Sylvia.
And every now and then we'll have a court hearing. I've got a court hearing by Zoom tomorrow afternoon, and had a couple of those. Had to take a deposition by Zoom about 3 weeks ago, which was weird, but it worked.
Sylvia.
Very good.
Hello, Sylvia.
Hi,
Hey
everyone.
guys, 1 minute warning.
Hey, Sylvia.
I'm sorry, should I look?
Welcome.
Oh, there you are. Hi,
You're fine.
Sylvia.
Oh, you're fine.
Okay.
Tyler, glad you could make it. Thank you. Sylvia, we're discussing, you were going to let your mom watch this, and then she was going to go, what the heck did you get yourself into?
The response I get. Yeah.
If that's the response, turn it off now.
There you go. Okay, looks like we've got everybody back. Time being 7 o'clock, we are reconvened into open session. Town council to reconvene into open session and consider actions, if any, on items discussed in closed session. Council, do I have a motion on the appointment of Mayor Pro Tem?
I'll make a
I'll
motion.
make a motion.
Go
ahead, Clay.
To Mayor Pro Tem.
I'll second.
Jacqueline, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Great. Motion carries. Thank you, council. Council, do we have a motion to appoint Sylvia Ordman as town administrator effective June 1st, 2020?
I'll make a motion that we appoint Sylvia Ordman as town administrator effective June 1st, 2020.
Do we have a second?
It would be my honor to second that.
Great. All in favor?
Hi.
Very
Aye.
good. Motion carries. Thank you, council. Sylvia, too late now.
Congratulations.
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 Virtual party.
So for those of you that are calling in, Sylvia, who will be taking over as town administrator, is actually on this call as well.
Thank you all.
And last but not least, do we have a motion to extend the disaster declaration to maintain the closure of town hall and the courts through the end of June, to maintain the ability of the police department to issue $500 fines, and with the knowledge that we will be able to do hybrid sessions for both council and the boards going forward. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion based upon your statement.
Thank you,
I'll second.
sir. Thank you. All in favor?
Hi.
Great. Motion carries, council. Thank you.
Tammy, we should be presenting ourselves by our council names before we speak, shouldn't we?
Your names are on the screen, so we're okay.
All right.
Very good. Okay, public participation. If any member of the public would like to speak, please use the raise your hand within the Zoom app or enter #9 on your phone and you will be recognized in the order your request is received. Tammy, if you can control that as they come in.
I believe Tyler would like to speak.
Very good. Tyler, please state your name and address.
Sure. Can you guys hear me?
We can.
Yes.
My name is Tyler New, and I am located at 1001 Hat Creek Road in Bartonville, Texas. And today I would like to speak regarding, I believe it's item 12 of the color scheme and or graphics on the water tower that is going up. I don't know how far it's been approved yet with the color scheme, or if there's still time to modify that. But in talking to some of my neighbors, we all live in Hat Creek Estates, which sees the water tower basically out of all windows. And it was, of most of all of our opinions that having a water tower that is something we can be proud of, that being color scheme, something that can be, not become another issue. And I think that the current color or proposed color of cool blue just seems out of the box. And I don't know what that looks like when it goes up. I don't know any other town or city that has a cool blue water tower. So we have some concern there, and I would like for that to maybe hear more thoughts of what that, is there any examples of what that looks like, or where that color came about? And then as for, and also we would like to see something that might be more traditional or classic, white with black lettering. I just don't know why we have to be so different than any other town or city. But also we definitely want to see the lettering. I think we need to signify that this is the town of Bartonville, and I don't know why we would not have lettering. So that's what I'd like to say.
Terrific. Tyler, thank you. So a couple of things on that. One is the base of the crown of the water tower is actually painted blue now. So if you can see the base of what's there now that has not been raised yet, that is the color. As we've started these conversations, I've started looking around that there is one that I think is close to that color that is off of 3040 on your way to Louisville. Right by there, there's a Tom Thumb in there that's similar to that color. Again, not supporting or pushing any way, just saying if you want to get an idea of what those colors look like, that's a couple of places.
Okay. And so was the plan then to do that entire ring the same color blue?
Yes.
Okay.
And
No.
Pat, if what's that?
No, Bill, because I'm assuming they're gonna keep the bottom part the same color that it already is.
Well,
It's
he
the
had
metal.
said the ring, so I was assuming he was. So Pat, can you clarify for us? Is it the stem's going to be white, and the top would be the cool blue, or that's what's being proposed by the water supply company?
There you go.
Hi, am I on now? I just had to click unmute.
You are, Pat. We can hear you.
Okay, yeah. The pylon, the center remains, it's got a cast-in design and it will remain the concrete color. The tank is cool blue.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Tyler. So you'll hear the discussion that goes on with it. But yes,
Sure.
we'll have that during that item. So
Okay.
thank you very much.
Yep.
Call-in user that ends in 7123. Did you want to participate in public participation? You're currently on mute.
They do not.
No,
Raised.
no. Do not
All right.
wish to
Oh,
participate.
hey, Dale, thank you. Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, that ends public participation. Appointed representative liaison reports. Chief?
Thank you, Mayor, Council. It's been a couple months since we've given any data, so I'll go ahead and jump in with March. March, we had 566 total calls that were reported. Of those, 114 were reports. Traffic stops, 118. 69 of those were warnings, 49 were citations. Self-initiated in March, 215. Crashes, we had 4. And of those crashes, all 4 of those crashes were on 407 at some point. 1830, 3400 block, which is right by Kroger. And then we had 1 at IT Neely. Moving on to April, obviously we slowed things down a little bit due to the situation. So we jumped from 566 to 304, and then we had 78 reports, 25 traffic stops, which was quite a bit lower. And this is also when we switched over to 24-hour coverage. So we did switch our emphasis back to making sure everybody's house was safe. 17 of those stops were warnings, 8 were citations. Self-initiated was 102. And again, we had 4 crashes in April. We had 1 at Jeter and Porter, 1 at Kroger. We had 1 at Lantana Trail and FM 407, and then 1 right at the curve there, Tractor Supply. And it didn't have anything to do with the stop sign or the intersection. Other than that, things have definitely been pretty quiet.
So, Chief, do you equate those accidents to speed or a variety of reasons?
The one we had at Tractor Supply was definitely due to speed. The other ones are just wrong place at the wrong time. Two objects trying to occupy the same place at the same time, and it doesn't work. So, really not a speed issue. It's just a crash.
Council, any questions for the chief? Great. Chief, thank you.
Sure.
Tammy, Town Secretary.
Included in your packet is the monthly financial statement, engineering report, animal control report, and this month I included a building permit report on the financial statement. We reported last month that the interest rate was going to go down at the bank, which it did. It went from 1.41% down to 0.55%, and it was reflected on the April bank statements. We created a line item to track all of the COVID-19 expenses that we have. So in the event that, I'm not sure what resulted from the Commissioner's Court today, I'll find out tomorrow, if there's any funding available for the cities to apply for budgeted expenditures due to COVID. We will definitely apply, and we'll keep track of that for all of our expenditures. That's anywhere from supplies to expenses, legal expenses. We'll start tracking all of that. So if there's not any questions on financial, engineering report, Gary's in attendance. We will go over the street projects later in the agenda. On the building permit report, right here. For the month of April, there were 15 permits issued, and they range from accessory buildings. We had 2 demolitions, hot water heater with 3 new residential permits, and along with that, there were 3 new septic systems. Those go hand in hand, 2 plumbing permits and a swimming pool permit. And then the other thing I have is elections. Just wanted to let you know that although our election was canceled, that all candidates did come in, take their oaths of office, and all certificates of election were issued, and then you elected your new mayor pro tem for this year. And also in your packet, you have a letter from the Children's Advocacy Center. They just want to thank the police department and the town for their support. I anticipate they typically send this letter this time of year. Next month, we'll probably get a request for funding, as we do every year. The state allows the county, the state collects $1.50 for each vehicle registration. The county takes that, then they disperse part of those funds to the cities. Those funds are restricted. We can only use them for crossing guards, which we don't have. So then the next step is to use that for agencies to donate, like for child abuse and neglect. So they'll probably be coming to us next month for their fair share request. Right now, we have about $7,000 in that line item, which is restricted. That's all I have, Mayor.
Terrific. And then just because we're on the budget topic, I would like to compliment the council. So the conservative nature of our budgeting over the years is doing exactly what we anticipated it would, which is when revenues slow, the town still is in great shape. And again, I thank you for your forethought and your foresight in that approach.
Mayor, if I may.
Okay, please.
I just want to let you know, it'll be reported on next month's financials, but where a majority of the cities saw a loss. So for our May sales tax receipts, it's 2 months behind. So May sales tax is actually the receipts received from March. Most cities saw about a 25% drop. We saw a 9% increase over last year's.
Yeah, and a unscientific poll of a couple of our restaurants, I mean, they took a hit, but
Yes.
they were doing significantly better than you would anticipate given the circumstances.
Yep.
And part of that, quite frankly, I would attribute to the fact that economic development stepped in and started an advertising campaign for them, sending out the flyers, the postcards, some of the things that you sent out, Tammy. So I think there was a lot of good work that was done to try to make sure that we supported our local businesses.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, council, anything for Tammy? Okay, consent agenda. This agenda item consists of non-controversial or housekeeping items required by law. Items may be approved with a single motion. Items may be removed from the consent agenda by any council member by making such request prior to the motion and vote on the consent agenda. Consider approval of the March 17, 2020 Town Council regular meeting minutes. 2, consider approval of March 17th, 2020 Town Council emergency meeting minutes. Item number 3, consider approval of the March 24th, April 7th, April 21st, and April 29th, 2020 Town Council special meeting minutes. Item number 4, consider approval of a resolution reappointing the municipal court judge, alternate municipal court judge, municipal clerk, and deputy municipal court clerk. And item number 4, consider approval of an interlocal agreement, purchasing agreement with Denton County and authorization of the town secretary to execute same on behalf of the town. Council, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the consent agenda.
Do we have a second?
A second.
All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you, council. Regular items. Discussion on the 2019 residential streets project. Gary?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good to be here tonight. Just real quickly, you've got a update in your packets, I'm sure. Just briefly, last week, I believe it was last week, Dove Creek was paved. Leaves us with one of our 14 streets left to be paved, and that's Glenview. My understanding is that should happen next week. They'll move in next Tuesday to do that portion. It's just a short portion at the top of the hill way in the back on Glenview. I know they do have a number of cleanup items and finish up items yet to do. You saw in your packet a letter that I sent to Charlie last week about Hunter Court and corrections that need to be made there. And the repair that he made on Stony Ridge is not acceptable and is going to need to be redone. We've gotten word of a number of, I'll call them minor items that will need to be addressed that we will take into account when we do our final punch list. I'm hopeful that by the June meeting, this project is completely done. Do you have
So-
any questions?
Yeah, Gary, I'm going to throw one in. So Councilman Trailer and I went and did a recon of all of the road work. And obviously Hunter Court was one that we would have focused on as well. Can you, why is it failing? I mean, we've seen failing before, which has been alligatoring. This actually has asphalt jumping out of the road.
Yes, actually, what I've seen is subgrade jumping out of the road on Hunter Court. But basically what happened on Hunter Court is apparently the operator of the paving machine, whether he wasn't paying attention or whatever, was making adjustments. You can adjust both sides of the laydown machine to adjust the thickness. And they have a little, I'll call it a stick, basically behind them that they check periodically on thickness. And I don't know what happened, but the inspector noticed that there were some areas where he was getting really thin. And so they went ahead and finished that lane. And then they said they went ahead to do the other lane, and they were going to make it the correct thickness. And then they would come back and repair that part. After they were done, we commissioned the lab to go out and do some cores to find out what was the extent of the insufficient depth. And we found a number of cores. We were supposed to have 2 inches of asphalt. We found a number of cores that were just above an inch. So frankly, that's why it's failing, is we got an inch of asphalt in some areas. So my recommendation was, and Charlie and I haven't really talked about this yet, but my recommendation was, first, in those areas where the pavement is failing like that, they're going to have to come back in and cut that out and repair the subgrade. And then my recommendation is to put a 1-inch type D asphalt over the entire roadway. The failures at the north end, a couple of spots further to the south where there's some segregation that's a little more than I really want to see. And then the cul-de-sac itself was pretty rough. If you've been back there, it was not a great job. And I think that the best way to deal with it is repair those spots and then put a 1-inch overlay over the whole thing. We could overlay portions of it. I don't like the sound of that. I don't like the way that would look. You're going to be transitioning. And I felt like that wasn't what we paid for. The type D actually will be a much better surface. And so what it saves him from having to do is he doesn't have to cut out and replace all those areas of segregation. And segregation is basically the larger rock is just too exposed in the surface, and there's not enough of the asphalt in the mix to hold it there. And so over a period of time, if it's too segregated, tires driving over it will pop those rocks loose, and pretty soon that's what we call raveling. The rocks will come loose and the pavement deteriorates. Well, some degree of, it's not like you should never see any rocks in the asphalt, but it's kind of a judgment call, honestly, as to how much is acceptable and how much isn't, and the type of road makes a difference. A cul-de-sac street like that with 3 or 4 homes or whatever, as opposed to West Jeter, we would look at that a whole different way. So basically, that was kind of the long story of what happened on Hunter, as I understand it.
Councilman Trailer?
I would agree with Gary on that 100%. The section on the north side that's exposed has to be dug up and redone, and the remainder of it does need a complete overlay, and I would agree with him on that.
Very good.
Gary,
Council, any questions?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Gary, can I ask you a question on
Sure.
On the spot repairs? What are we standing on that? Is that now been completed?
No, as a matter of fact, I misspoke at the last council meeting, and I apologize for that. I think Councilman Carrington asked last time when those repairs would be done.
Yeah.
And I just popped up with what came into my mind, which was, we'll get it done within the next week or two, not remembering that we actually needed to bring that work order to you all to authorize, which is on the agenda later this evening. As you probably know, last week, we got with the contractor SPI, and he had a paving project nearby, so he came and filled, just threw some asphalt in the holes, the worst ones on West Jeter, and then over actually on East Jeter over by the church, just to get us until we authorize this work order, and then he'll come in and he'll cut them out and repair them correctly. So that was just a stopgap because those holes were getting too bad to even go another week.
Yeah, I appreciate that because that helped tremendously. I've had several calls on the one that's over here on West Jeter and Gibbons, right there at that intersection by Country Court. It's getting to be a pretty good size one, and there's a lot of tires that are getting hit there, and I didn't know whether they were through with the repairs or whether we still had more to go, but I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, assuming this work order is adopted, approved tonight, I'll get with Tony and we'll get him out there as quick as we can to get that started.
Good, thank you.
Council, anything else for Gary? Okay, Gary, thank you. Moving to item 10, discuss and consider ratification of a change order number 5 to the 2019 residential street project with Rock Solid Inc. in the amount of $4,500. Gary?
All right, that was an item, as you may recall, we pivoted on that project. We originally had intended to remove the asphalt that was there, believing the subgrade to be in pretty good shape, and then put an overlay on it. Once we got the asphalt off, we realized that wasn't true. We took the asphalt off and proof rolled it. And actually now some months ago, we authorized a change order to cement stabilize it and do the overlay on the whole project. When we did that, when it was just an overlay, there really wasn't going to be much disturbance of the ditches and that around the edge of the road. But when we went to the reconstruction, that was necessary, and we narrowed the road. And so we had to establish grass somehow. And so this change order was for $4,500 to do the hydromulching. The contract actually has hydromulch for a number of the other streets at $5 a square yard. $5 a square yard is pretty high, but when it's taken in a whole project, you can't always look too specifically at individual unit prices. But when we went to add this, we negotiated with Charlie a little bit more normal rate for that hydromulching of $3 a square yard instead of $5.
Council, any discussion?
Can I
Do we
make
have a motion? Please.
I make a motion that we ratify the change order number 5 to the 2019 residential street project with Rock Solid Inc. in the amount of $4,500.
Great, thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you, Council. Gary, thank you. Item number 11, discuss and consider approval of work order number 1 with SPI Asphalt LLC for spot repairs and crack seal throughout the town, and authorize the town secretary to execute same on behalf of the town. Gary?
All right. This work order is to take care of some of the spot repairs that we talked about on streets like mostly Gibbons, West Jeter, East Jeter, and a portion of Glenview, probably the far eastern portion of Glenview. It also includes some 8-inch spot repairs over there on McMakin near 407. And then what's really new about this one is the crack sealing. We recently did, I was involved in another crack sealing project with SPI recently in another town. And he had acquired, well, actually in that case, he had rented some equipment that instead of the little buckets that the guys run around with manually on the street, it's a trailer mounted crack sealing machine that he pulls behind the truck. And it is great. It does a really good job. What we've done in the past way too often, and I guess I need to take responsibility for this, is we have crack sealed based on our budget. And we've not done the kind of job of crack sealing we should have. In this other town, we tried a different approach. And instead of pricing the crack sealing per foot of crack, we basically identified segments of streets, and I said, Tony, go drive it. Give me a price to seal every crack in the road in that segment. So for example, West Jeter from the town limit down to the bend just south of Glenview, he will go down that road and he will seal every crack he sees. And that's what these prices are. So what that'll mean is he won't be sealing a crack here and walking right past another crack that's not quite so big. He'll be sealing every crack. And I think you're going to like that approach. That equipment that he's got really makes it work well. And it's held up well over in Copper Canyon. So my recommendation was that he give us those prices. We did it by street so that if the $86,690 is more than we want to bite off, we could cut some out if we wanted to. Kind of wanted to give you that option if that's what you wanted to do.
So Gary, on this machine that he's dragging, then I'm assuming it's automated, so it's actually hitting the cracks better than a manual process?
Well, no, it's still manual. There'll be a guy in the truck pulling the trailer. There'll be when I've watched them, they had another guy with a compressed air nozzle blowing stuff out of the cracks, making sure all the debris and that kind of thing's out. And then there's a third guy with a wand that's connected to the tank on the truck, and it's got a trigger on it basically. And so he's just going and following the cracks and filling them up. He can adjust the temperature really easily so that if you think about it, this asphalt material, the hotter it gets, the runnier it is. And so he can dial it a little bit cooler. So if it's a big, thick crack, it doesn't all just go to China, you know, it'll cool quicker, and because it'll be going in cooler. And so he can kind of control that. But the biggest difference is because it's so easy to operate and he can keep things moving. The kettles that he had before were about the size of a 5-gallon bucket, and you'd have to fire up a tank and heat it up, and then you'd go crack seal, and then you'd come back and get another, fill up your bucket again. And it was just labor intensive and probably not nearly as safe for the operators. But this way he can go along and he'll just, every crack he sees, he'll fill it up. And so he doesn't have to keep reloading. He just keeps right on going. And traffic can get on it within minutes after they're passed.
Council?
Hey, Gary.
Uh-huh.
This is Josh. Does this new technique add any longevity to the crack sealing process? Will we get more bang for our buck in terms of how long this will last?
I think so for two reasons. One, we're using a crack sealant that is not water-based. Some of the crack sealant that's been used over the years in a lot of places is water-based, and that disappears in a quick hurry. You'll often see that when they apply that crack sealant, they call it a band. There'll be a strip, look like about the width of duct tape all along the crack. Most of that sealant is wasted. This is all mostly in the crack. And so we're using a better crack sealant. And mainly the thing we'll like is we'll be getting all the cracks. So a crack that's a 1/16 of an inch now or an 1/8 of an inch now, 6 months from now might be a 1/4 of an inch. And if we had bypassed that 1/16 of an inch or 1/8 of an inch crack, then it's not sealed. Now they will all be cracked. They will all be sealed. So we just do a much better job of decreasing the amount of water that can intrude into the pavement by sealing all the cracks. So that's really the basic thing that gets us the most longevity. Because as you know, the water getting through the pavement, through the cracks into the subgrade is what damages the pavement. So we were sealing the biggest cracks, but probably not, well, certainly not all the cracks. And so there was still ways for water to get in the subgrade. This will seal all of them, and that'll do a much better job of protecting the subgrade from water intrusion.
Gary, this is Councilman Sam.
Uh-huh.
Will this new procedure they use, if they control the thickness of that, will that do a better job of pulling up on top of the crack itself and not, see, before, by following them out there, watching them do that, when they get into a crack that's say 1/4 inch wide, when they hit that, it seeps down into that crack, but the crack is not sealed up, even though it's it's penetrated down in the crack. There's still a cavity on top, which will allow water to stand. Will this new procedure that they use, will that go ahead and actually pull over the top of the crack and keep it from disappearing down in the crack and not letting water go into it?
Yes, and the way they do that is they'll go over it one time, and sometimes the larger cracks, that's exactly what will happen, is it'll settle down in. So then what they'll do is they'll come back and hit it again. And that's what they did with this over in Copper Canyon after they had gone through, they came back again, not even always necessarily the same day, I don't think, but will come back through and finish filling that crack all the way to the top.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
So Gary, Councilman Trailer, yes, the piece of equipment that you're talking about is great from the standpoint of if the operator does dial back on the temperature, especially for the larger cracks, it'll tend to hold it at a higher up the top of the crack versus letting it just dump into the middle of it. Because before they just bring it to a boil and they just dump it on the hole. So if done right, this piece of equipment works a lot nicer and keeps a much cleaner line. And this is Argyle's primary function as well. They're trying to crack seal everything to keep from having to replace it. So let's see how it works.
Yeah.
So great, Gary, you absolutely made a great case for the crack sealing. Council, do we want to discuss about how much we want to crack seal, or are we comfortable with going with the entire proposal?
Mayor.
Okay, Councilmember
Yes,
Trailer
yes,
here. Tammy.
I just want to let you know that in the budget, typically every year, it's just been budgeted $75,000 for the work. But the revenue this year to date for the street maintenance sales tax has through April is $175,000 with an additional $30,000 expected for May. So if you did decide to do the work, we'll just come back with the budget amendment. So there's plenty of revenue in there if you decide to do this.
Terrific. Thank you, Tammy. Councilman Trailer?
The items on the list they're in heavy need of the crack seal. So, I mean, I walked the list and I wasn't going to object to anything on it.
There is a possibility that we have 375 square yards of spot repairs. There is a possibility the ones that I had identified came up to a little bit less than that. So it's possible that number could come down a little. But on the flip side of that, if that amount is approved, I won't have any trouble finding 375 yards of spot repairs to make either.
Hey, Gary, this is Councilman Sams. Is there a way that we can look at what has been done by this crew, or whether we might just select one of the worst roads that we have and have them do that? But I understand if they're going to bring the equipment out, that this is probably want to do a turnkey so they can keep their costs and labor down. But is there some way we can see what this is, the end result of what they've done with roads that's had some fairly good cracking in it?
Are you meaning how it's looked on previous roads they've done? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yes, I could get you, let's see, some streets they did in Copper Canyon would include.
Have you seen some of those roads?
Yeah, and when you actually look, Councilman Trailer again, if you actually look at the way that it's applied, the boiling bucket or the firebox that they use in the old days, it leaves down about a 4-inch wide strip.
Right.
This process will not. So you'll be able to tell when they've done where they've done it. It'll look completely different on the pavement.
Yes.
Yeah, the whole secret of that is, like, if you go over to Colony or Frisco and some of their seating, they're actually on top of the pavement. This material, it pools up, and I mean, even if it's driven over, you still see where it's maybe an 1/8 of an inch above the asphalt, where those cracks, they're sealed and that material stays on top and it doesn't fall down into the cracks. So yeah, if it holds up on top, then that'd be great. And you know better, you can only patch it so much, but if you go out there and you do the entire deal, I would say that it's better to get the thing done right the first time than have to go back and look at it the second time and see some more cracks come up.
Yep.
Terrific. Council, are we ready to vote? Okay, do we have a motion?
Hey, Mayor, what item number is it again?
Item number 11.
11.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve item number 11 as written.
Great, thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you, council. Item number 12, discuss and consider approval of the exterior color scheme, lettering and graphics of the Cross Timbers Water Supply Corporation's elevated tower located at 1250 IT Neely Road, Bartonville, Texas, in accordance with Section G of the Conditional Use Permit, Ordinance number 570-14. Council, what I'd like to do is start with, we had some discussions last time. I know, Pat, you've had some discussions with your organization as well. Just, would you give us where your thoughts to start? Pat, you're on mute, sir. Still on mute. Maybe in the upper right-hand corner.
Now I should be.
There you go.
Okay. I misinterpreted the mute unmute. All right, well, we don't have an objection to the town of Bartonville placing a design, lettering, motto, or logo on the tank. So, you know, but it has to be done before the 27th, or it will have to be done after the tank is raised.
Okay, so just for clarification then, so your proposal is you're still requesting to do the color blue that is on it at this particular point in time, and with the town having the option of paying for putting lettering on the water tower.
Yes. We
Okay, great.
thought it would be any a design, logo, lettering, or motto that's in general current public use by the town of Bartonville. So, you know, whatever you want, we're not asking to approve it as long as it's in general public use by the town of Bartonville. So it's whatever you want, basically.
Great. Thank you, Pat. Council.
Well, last week we were all talking about the cool blue and that we all kind of agreed that we were okay with the color.
This is Councilman Sams. I went up there and looked at the unit that's on the ground with that color. And I know that, Mr. Mayor, I think you mentioned this earlier where you've seen one, but if I'm not mistaken, I think it's either Farmers Branch or Addison that's got several over there that's in that blue tone. And I see no, I mean, I don't have any objections against the blue with the natural tone of the stand unit itself. However, I would like to see us come to some type of agreement to get the town of Bartonville on that water tower.
Great, thank you.
So the color that's on the base right now, that is not the color, is that correct?
That is the color. The color
is.
that you see on the, what would be the bottom of the bottom of the top, for lack of a better term. Pat, can you say the official term of what we're looking at?
The standpipe?
Yep.
It's concrete. That's concrete, or it's sometimes also referred to as the pylon, and it has a cast-in design in it. That is concrete, and it will be the stand upon which the tanks at the top of that pylon. The pylon or standpipe remains cement. The tank is blue.
But the color that's on the bottom of the tank right now that's still at the base of the tower is the color that you want it to remain.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
And there's something else, Mr. Mayor, that this is Councilman Sims, that we need to consider is the time element that we're looking at, because this next week we have 5 days in a row that we're going to have rain. And I know that if they put that emblem on there, that they're not going to be able to do that in the rain. So we're kind of on a time press for time unless we want to put it on there after the thing is erected.
Which increases the cost.
Right.
Yes.
So, okay. Any other comments on the color, and then let's switch our conversation to the graphics. Okay. Thoughts of Tammy did send us out. She did some research on graphics, sent us out some graphic options. Is that a direction the town wants to go?
Councilman Trailer, yes, it is a direction I want us to go in. And have we clarified the point that the color had never been approved? So the stipulations that Pat was pushing, that only changes would be allowed. Has that been clarified yet by Ed?
The color was not previously approved. You're here to
Okay.
approve the color tonight.
Right. So if we haven't approved a color, then we never approved that the tank color or any artwork on the tower. So the whole point of being, it's subject to additions, editorials. I can't remember the wording that Pat was pointing to in the agreement that we signed with them, was not started at that point, since we had never approved the color, correct?
That's my understanding, correct.
Okay, so in those words, then we can approve the color with the artwork on it. And therefore it is the responsibility of Pat and them to get the artwork on it.
That wasn't in the agreement, right, Ed?
It's not in the agreement so stated so clearly, no.
For them to
But
do
it,
that.
but it's not stated, it's stated in the agreement that he pointed to was that the color had been pre-approved, which it hasn't been. So if the approval of the water tower painting, whatever that is, includes the artwork, then that's what gets approved.
Oops. What did I do?
I don't think artwork was ever approved, was it?
Nothing was approved. That's my point.
All right. When can I speak?
Looks like Pat's raising his hand, Mayor.
Yes, please, Pat.
Okay. The tank was put up after a building permit was issued by Judge Robeson in 2012. It was assembled. The town was asked to give their advice on the tank, whether that came back or not, and we'll never be able to prove. And it's apparently not anywhere in the town records. The tank was painted cool blue, which our recollection is that color was suggested by the town or the town secretary or the town administrator or whatever. That was in 2013. Within a few weeks after that, the project was stopped. Almost 20 months later, the CUP was issued, which states that town has the right to approve changes. Well, at the time that CUP was done, the tank had already been cool blue for almost 20 months before the stoppage, or before the CUP was written. So I would submit that that's why it said changes, because it was already painted.
But the approval that was given was in contrast to the desire of the city. The approval to move forward on the tank that you got the judge to do. The town was not in supportive of that at that time, correct?
Correct. That's regardless.
Wait, but that's the premise of what you're saying is why you went ahead and painted it and got your approval.
But
But at the time, the town,
it was approved or not, it was painted. And the CUP says the town has the right to approve changes. Changes from when the CUP was done. The CUP was done in October of 2014.
so in the wording, it states that changes from when the CUP was done.
It says changes. And the
Ed?
CUP dated October 29th.
Ed Voss, please provide clarification.
I wish I could, Mayor. I mean, I'm just looking at the language since I wasn't around back then. And so sadly, I don't have the history.
Would you read the language, please?
Subsection G is what we're looking at. It's titled Elevated Water Tank. It has two sentences. The first sentence says, the town council shall approve all cosmetic changes to the elevated tank, including but not limited to color, lettering, and graphics. Next sentence, approval of a color palette that blends the color of the tower to its surroundings such that there is not a sharp contrast or obtrusive presence from the water storage tank is required.
Great. Thank you, Ed. So to Pat's point, I will tell you, Tammy has done exhaustive research. The town, there is no record whatsoever that the town ever approved a color for that, but that is the color that was on it when the CUP was voted and approved.
So I have no, excuse me, I have no interest in holding up the direction of the water tower regarding the color or the graphics or anything. I would like to see that take place on the 27th, since it's only been, what, 10 years now or something?
So I will sit there and state, we just need to decide what we're going to do. We obviously have the language that was put in. I do not believe that that was the intent of the language at the time, but the language is the language of what was approved. I'm the longest sitting member of this group, and Pat and I sat in a room and negotiated most of the terms on this, from the indemnification to everything else that would be included if the CUP was approved. Not sure when the lettering fell out of it, because it was in the putting the town logo was on the tower was in an earlier form. Where and when it fell out, don't know, but we've got what we've got.
I mean, I obviously wasn't here either, but just listening to that, the color was on there at the time of the CUP. Seems like that feels like it's a done deal to me. And I agree with Jacqueline that it's been on the ground for a long time. I think ever since I've been here. Is there so the color for me is fine. Getting it put up by that date is fine with me. It's actually what I prefer, but I agree with the others from the last call that getting our name and logo or something on there, I think would be great for the town. And I know that may fall on our shoulders, but do we need to discuss that?
So we do, and I just wanted to finish the color and then move to the graphics.
Okay.
So what I'm hearing on the color post-vote is the color is the color.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, let's discuss then the graphics. So the graphics I don't see in the packet, but this was an email that was sent to the council on 5/14 at 5:24 p.m. Tammy, do you have the ability to be able to display that?
Give me just one moment.
Great, thank you.
Tammy, did they say how long it would take to do those graphics at all?
I did not.
Did they say how long it would take to possibly get those graphics up? You're muted.
All right, I didn't ask for an estimate or time. I just got costs.
Okay.
I have 2 computers. Just a moment.
Okay.
Nope, take your time. Council, does everyone have that email up?
Yeah, I'm printing it
Okay,
right now.
Jacqueline, yes. Josh? Okay, yes. Jeff? Great.
Yes.
Okay. Bridget, great. And then Clay.
Yes.
And Pat. Thank you, Pat. You got your...
No, I had a question.
Yes, sir.
Did you, I don't know if Tammy investigated vinyl or just painting. Vinyl can go on faster.
And cheaper.
And cheaper. That's just for what it's worth.
What would the
Thank you.
longevity be?
The longevity?
Yes.
I don't know that. I just know that that's what they told me when I called them the other day.
Apparently, it's not uncommon to use on water tanks.
Okay, let's start with the graphics and then as Tammy brings it up. So, council, I will readily admit I have a strong opinion, but I will let you guys start on, if we start with the one on the far left being number 1 and the one on the far right being number 6. Do we have a proposal?
I like number 2.
I
like number 1 or 2.
I like number 2 as well. Only because the lettering is big enough where one can read it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jeff?
No, number 2 is the right one.
Okay. Josh?
Number 2.
And I'm in favor of number 2 as well. So, okay. Tammy, thank you.
Did it work?
Thank you, Tammy.
Yes, ma'am.
Nice job.
Okay, council, do we have a motion to approve the existing color and authorize, Tammy, what is the cost for number 2?
$47.60. You're on mute. Sorry.
Tammy, you're on, yeah.
He was 47.
$4,760.
And is that vinyl or is that paint?
Let me get the quote for you just a moment. I sent this to Sigma Signs. They said they've done, I initially sent it to Sigma and asked them if they've done water towers. They've said they've done several of them. I will get you the information in just a moment.
And did we discuss the time frame? How long it would take for them to do this?
I will find out tomorrow.
Okay.
Council, my recommendation with this is as we approve it, let's approve a dollar amount greater than that amount, but then authorize negotiations on that so that there's a little bit of flexibility to move this forward. We may decide, again, we all like it because it's big and it displays Bartonville very large. We need to make sure for the amount that in fact covers that size and we're not, we get what the intent is.
I would agree.
And then are we agreeing on the color of the logo? Is there a color of the actual logo? Is it just black?
The intention would be black, yes. Do you want to discuss another option, Bridget?
No, no.
Okay, nope, and that's fair.
And we're only discussing to have this on the east side of the tank. The west side of the tank will be blue.
Yeah.
Yes.
Correct. Just one side facing 407.
Yeah. So they can see it.
Yeah, I like that.
Proudly.
Tammy?
Pat, to answer your question, he said it is applied with high performance cast vinyl.
Okay.
Well,
So
as long as
council,
it's high performance.
Here's what I'm going to propose to allow us some flexibility to figure this out. If you're comfortable with it, I would propose that we go for a motion of the color blue, authorize no greater than $7,500. Again, we know it's going to be the lower amount, and authorize, quite frankly, our most experienced contractor, Councilman Trailer, to do the negotiation for the town.
I would agree.
Okay, council, do we have a motion to approve the blue color, authorize an expenditure of no more than $7,500 for logo number 2 to be negotiated and managed by Councilman Trailer? Councilman Trailer, are you okay with that? Since I'm busy volunteering you, sir?
I'm perfectly fine with it, yes.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion. We so move that we do exactly as the mayor has just stated. Thank you.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you, council. Pat, I hope we don't have to talk about this anymore.
Just one more point.
Yes, sir.
We'll cooperate with you. Get a hold of Chad Wolf at our office. He's our new manager, as you know, for access. And we'll work with you getting access. Any kind of measurements you need for that. And also water supply will donate $1,000 to to the signage project with said amount payable to the town of Bartow upon completion of the sign.
Pat, thank you very much. Very generous offer.
Thank you.
Pat.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Item number 13, discuss and consider approval of a resolution nominating Jim Carter to the slate of nominees for the Board of Managers of Denko Area 911 District. Tammy, has anybody else requested our nomination?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to move to approve a resolution nominating Jim Carter to a slate of nominees for the Board of Managers of the Denko Area 911 District.
I'll second.
Do we? Great. All in favor? Motion carries. Council, any items you would like to add to future agenda items? Great.
Mr. Mayor,
Sir,
this is an agenda item, just, and probably not even an appropriate place to do this, but just wanted to say a sincere thank you to Tammy for filling in. I know I'm excited to have Sylvia on board June 1st, and I know Tammy's probably happy to have the help, but great work, Tammy. Thank you so much for what you do to the town. We didn't miss a beat, so thank you very much.
Councilman Phillips, very, very, very well spoken. And I think you've got several other people that would concur with that, Tammy. Thank you for everything you do on a daily basis.
Thank you, Tammy. And welcome, Sylvia.
I'm
Welcome,
going
Sylvia.
June 2nd.
What's that?
I'm going on vacation June 2nd.
You're not, but
deserve
thank you
it.
very much for the thought. So very good. Sylvia, looking forward to seeing you a week from Friday. Enjoy the time with your family and safe trip back.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
It's been a pleasure.
All right, guys, time being 7:59, we are adjourned.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia.
Good seeing y'all.
See ya.